I'd like for you to think for a moment the word money and to imagine inside of your mind what that word means to you. For some women, it might be positive, it might be freedom, it might be tool, it might be success. But for some women, money might mean limitations, not enough, worry, scarce. And the difference between these two sets us on a path of self-affirming action or self-limiting action. Because before me, I see women who might be with an unhappy job, or they might be divorced with children and don't know how to make ends meet to provide for their children's education, let alone for their future and their retirement. I see women who perhaps are in an unhappy financial relationship, maybe with their partner or their spouse, and they feel financially controlled by their spouse. I know I did, even though it wasn't really true, but I felt that way. You might be feeling judged for your financial decisions. You might be judged by your in-laws, your own parents, your own spouse, maybe your friends for how you spend your money, or maybe you even judge yourself. I know that there are women out there who feel hopeless about their future. They feel like they're just left behind, they're another number, or they feel underrepresented by their financial industry. They feel like nobody really cares about what their priorities are. And what we're looking for is to change that story and change that script for all of us. I know there are some women in this audience who, like me at one point, was confused about where to start. And how do we begin to make those choices and start living our dreams? But it doesn't happen without changing how we think and how we feel from the inside, and begin to create from within us a state of freedom and a state of happiness to where we can move forward in confidence.
Well, thanks for joining us today on this episode of The State of Happiness. Today we have my mom here to tell her side of the story of the money formula and how she was able to be a part of our first stop on the Women's Financial Freedom Tour. So instead of saying, hey mama, I'm going to say, hi Marissa. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm glad to be here tonight.
So my mom is here from Jacksonville, Florida, home of the Jaguars, where I grew up and the starting place for where the money formula starts. And my mom came to be a part of this experience, to see her grandchildren, of course, but she also wanted to show her support at the first stop of our Women's Financial Freedom Tour. But before then, we're going to talk about more of her story and how she got involved with this experience. So let me ask you, what was it like when you knew that your story, your personal parts of your story were going to be in the book?
At first, it's kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Made you feel anxious?
Yes.
Why?
It's because, I guess it's kind of a little bit don't want, I guess, for a little bit for people, I guess, embarrassed for the people to know what happened to me. But then again, I realize people needs to hear it.
Yeah. So if you're tuning into this for the first time, in the book I talk about how my mom as a child was essentially forced by her own mother to enter sex work in order for her and my entire family in the Philippines post-war to survive. They were literally so poor that this was the only way. Can you give a little bit more insight into why you were being asked? Because it was not like your mom was this abuser who didn't love you and who was trying to make you miserable. She really had good intentions, but this was the only way. Give the audience a little bit more explanation.
Well, if you want to survive, you do what you can to survive. So I feel like this is one of them that way out.
Of poverty.
Yeah, poverty. To be able to get out of the stuck.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you were living in pretty dismal conditions. You were living in like shack. Yes. And in some points at time, you were living in cardboard boxes and your family was just destitute.
Right. Right.
And there's so many of you kids. And then nieces and nephews of yours as well.
Yes.
So there's
yes.
so many mouths to feed.
Right, it's too many mouths to feed, but somehow those things that happen.
But what's that like that first time when your mom said, this is what you need to do, and you were only 14?
I didn't like it because I grew up in the country that believe in abstinent. Don't have things like that until you're married. But when you're forced to do it to survive, it's like, something inside you, like, I know this is not right, but something that, for us to live and survive.
Yeah. It was hard, though.
Yeah, it's hard.
It was like you had to shut off parts of yourself in order to get through those types of experiences.
Right. I do. Even though I don't like it, but there's so many of us that need to do, to survive. So, I did what my mom told me.
Yeah. So you were being a good kid.
Yes.
Listening to your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you said to me personally that there were times in your childhood that you were so hungry that you and your friends would sniff glue to make the hunger pains to go away.
Yeah, to put something in your mouth so you don't feel like you're hungry.
Yeah, and that is actually a common thing in the Philippines of hungry children. They would sniff glue, or they would do that to numb themselves from the pain of starvation.
Right.
Or just from the pain of the life around them.
And sometimes you have to take some, that whatever you can find to make you feel like whatever you're doing, that you're not, that you're not there, that when you're on drugs, seems like what you're doing, even though it's not right, it's like...
You're disassociating from the pain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's just a coping mechanism.
Right.
And a lot of addiction is actually due to childhood traumas where people are learning to cope, and it's just a coping mechanism.
Right.
And that's the reason why we always focus on skills, is to help people find ways to cope with their feelings, and that are, and for children, are too big for them to understand.
Right.
Yeah. For us, as we were growing up, in struggle, as Lou, my brother, calls it, on the strug.
Yeah.
That was hard, being in a dysfunctional marriage.
Right.
And having 4 kids, and then sometimes you would raise other kids.
Right.
Uncle Jesse's son John.
Yes.
Or some
nieces
of our
and
other
nephews.
Yeah, some of our other friends too.
Right.
Were latchkey kids that would come over.
Yes.
And we didn't have very much.
Right.
What made you think, okay, let me ask for assistance and, like free lunches and Salvation Army and all of that? Like, how did you get to the point to ask for help?
Because I know that to be able for my children and I to survive, we need some help. So I have the courage to be able to ask people to help us.
Yeah. It's not easy to ask for help.
No, I didn't want to. I was hoping that I can do it all by myself.
Right. As many Americans
Yeah.
people think, oh, let me try to do it on my own, pull myself up by the bootstraps kind of thing.
Right. But then sometimes you need a little hand.
A hand up.
Yeah, a hand up so that you can be able to survive. But I'm glad that I did. And there are people like this program that my daughter is doing, trying to help the people, that are going through some struggle too.
Yeah, like the Women's Financial Freedom Tour.
Yeah, so that way they know that they're not alone.
Right.
That there's help out there.
Right.
To encourage them that even though they're struggling, if they just have that courage, to ask for help. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. Because everybody go through it.
That's right.
That you need some way, somehow, you need some help.
Right.
Either emotionally, mentally, physically.
Don't be too proud to ask for help.
Yeah, don't be too proud.
Right.
Because every one of us in our life will, experience hardship that you need somebody's help.
Exactly.
So
that's interesting because you were not afraid to ask for help, but you weren't dependent on it. It's not like you were not working, because you worked.
Yes.
part-time, and
Yes.
then the rest of the time he took care of us. Our dad worked full-time.
Right.
And he wasn't a lazy guy. He worked a lot.
Right.
At that time in your life, how did you feel that you would ever get out of that type of life of working poverty and paycheck to paycheck kind of thing? What inspired you to keep going, even though your check balance wasn't so great?
Well, I know that I need to keep going because I have children that's depending on me
Mm-hmm.
to be able to raise them, and take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
But, perseverance and, just knowing that some way, somehow, not lose hope.
Because there's research that was been done. Anna and I talked about it last week on the last episode of the State of Happiness podcast, where we talk about the reasons why you don't have enough money. And we talked about how women have a lack of support, emotional support, when it comes to their financial stress or stress in general. And women turn to negative or unhealthy coping mechanisms like compulsive shopping or drugs or alcohol or promiscuous activities or overeating
Right.
to cope with all of this. How did you cope?
How do I cope?
Yeah.
I just, most of it, I cope it with the help of God. He helped me and be strong and be able to encourage me to ask people to help and keep going, because there are other people that going through the same thing that I'll be able to tell them that if I can do it, they can do it.
Yeah, because you had a spiritual community.
Right.
You had a church community.
Yeah. People around me that help me, because I asked for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's still a lot of people out there that do care, that wants to help. Don't, like I said earlier, don't be too proud to ask for help.
And it's interesting because you saw the book, you read some stories,
Right.
and then you came to our first step. But let's talk about what was one of the impressive stories from the book, or what did you think about reading in the book? She's still reading it because I just was able to get her a copy. By the time you hear this, she'll have read this, but you've read up almost half of it.
Right.
And you liked it.
Right.
What did you like about it?
I like about it because I know that a different experience that other people, going through, and, different kind of trauma that people went through.
Right.
That it's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that knowing that other people's got different things that they go through in life, and I guess it's encouraging. And knowing that those people is being helped.
Yeah. And that their lives have changed.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I remember seeing you on the recliner
Yeah.
yesterday, and you're like, I'm going to read this.
Yeah.
And you were all into it.
Yeah, it's really good.
You couldn't put it down.
Yeah, I went upstairs and I went to the kids' playroom, and when she's sleeping, my granddaughter was sleeping. I went to the playroom so that way I won't wake her up. So I read some more, and I enjoyed it. I encourage you to get it because it would help you, because all the people that it's been helped from this book, it would encourage you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were a little scared to read it when I gave you the copy. You were like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But then you were like, oh my gosh, it's really good.
Right.
And then we went to the Women's Financial Freedom Tour at the Vista Library, and we spoke in front of women and men who came from the community to listen to us speak. Right. And you were really captivated by the talk, but people were captivated by you.
Right.
Tell us some of the things that the people said in the audience just by your story alone. What did they say to you?
Well, they told me that I was an inspiring woman, what a strong woman I am, and they couldn't imagine what I went through. Yeah. And they told me that we want to hear more about your story. I wish that one day we can hear your story. Yeah. So I hope one day, it will happen.
Yeah, I'd love that.
I'll be able people to. At first, I thought when she put it in the book, it's make me like, Oh my goodness. She put my thing in the open.
And I didn't
Yeah.
ask for permission.
Yeah, she didn't ask permission. I feel like, oh my goodness.
How typical of my children.
Yeah, what am I going to do now? You know, and I said, no, my laundry is in the air.
Your dirty laundry is
Yeah.
flying.
Yeah, but then again, after she spoke out and people heard, you know, the story, they're really, really inspired by it.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that, but it really, you know, encouraged other women to, you know, how what I went through. So I thank God for that, for them, for the bad experience all that happened to me when I was a child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just traumatic because you're a
Yeah.
child.
Yeah,
And
but-
that's like a parent's worst nightmare, but your parent's worst nightmare was a reality.
right.
But then they even complimented you about you being a parent.
Yes, I was. They told me I was an amazing mom. How I raised a wonderful daughter. That she was amazing. That she, you know, that she'll be able to help other daughter, you know, to be strengthened and empowered.
Yeah,
You know.
because there was a woman there, I think
Yeah.
Maria,
Yeah.
and
And
what did she say?
said she really want her to meet my daughter, to be able to encourage her and empower her and strengthen, you know, help to be able to, you know, encourage for what she, you know, want her to do or
Mhm.
what she wants to do.
Right.
Yeah,
Live
her daughter.
dreams.
Yeah. So I was really, you know, encouraged and empowered.
Encouraged
course.
and empowered.
Yeah.
That's the words for
Yeah.
the tour. But how did it make you feel personally to see your child embark upon this journey to take your story and take it another step further?
I'm really proud of what you know, accomplished and what God is doing in your life. How, you know, helping other people, what you went through and what I went through of your dad, abusive dad, that you've seen all that and causes you to be able to, you know, push forward and seeing, you know, there's better life ahead.
Yes.
so-
Yes. Yeah.
So that's why I'm really proud of my daughter. She's doing a good job.
We have that on record.
Yes.
So if anytime I make her mad, I'm going to play this over again. I'm really proud of my daughter. I'm going to put that
Yeah.
as your cell phone ring for when I call you.
Yeah.
And you hear yourself say, I'm really proud of my daughter.
I'm really proud of her. For what she doing, helping other women, you know, to empower them and, you know, be able to, you know, let no circumstances to, I forget what kind of word I'm trying to say, stop them from wanting to achieve what they want to do.
Yeah, like blocks. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't let what happened to them stop them.
Yeah. Because you've seen in your life, you know, some people who didn't overcome and who succumbed to addiction or
Right.
succumbed to illegal activities.
Right.
Even your own brother
Yeah.
had his own hard ways too.
Right.
And you've lost another brother.
Yeah.
And, you know, so you've seen people go through their own roads and some not make it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. But if you just have your eyes on number one is God, He's gonna help you.
Yeah.
Whatever that you're gonna go through, He said He's gonna turn your mess to a message.
Yeah.
So remember, whatever that you're going through, it might be a painful for you, but it's somebody's miracle.
That's true. I believe
Yeah.
that everybody is somebody's answer to their prayers.
Right.
For better or for worse.
Yep. It's what you're going through is somebody else's miracle.
That's right.
Yeah, because you never know how that you're gonna be able to help them, you know, with the pain that you went through.
Yeah.
It's not all gonna waste. Because Romans says all these things work together for good to those that love God.
Yeah.
So I thank God for that.
And love themselves.
Yep. They love to know how to love God and love themselves.
Right.
You know, yeah, they can overcome whatever, you know, circumstances and try, whether they're marriage, whether they're finances, whether they're sickness, whether relationship, you know, whether emotionally, physically,
Mm-hmm.
they'll be able to overcome
Loss, grief.
loss. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So
Okay.
yes.
What else do you think that we'll be able to achieve by doing this tour? And how do you think, if somebody's thinking, oh, maybe I'd like to become involved with this tour, what would you say to them if they're thinking about becoming a part of this tour?
It will be a great benefit, not only for you, but for those that are around you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people, your friends, your neighbors, you know, your relatives, your co-workers.
Yeah.
A lot of people will benefit from it.
Yeah. In what ways do you think?
What ways, you know, encourage them to be, you know, strength for whatever goal they set, they'll be able to accomplish.
Yeah.
If they keep on it.
Right.
You know, don't let all the stumbling blocks stop them from.
Achieving a dream.
Yep.
Yeah. Because so many of us put our dreams off because we don't believe that we're able to achieve them.
Right. They can do it. It might not come right away, you know, but don't stop.
Yeah.
Keep going.
One step at a time.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, seeing this, being here at this opportune time, what do you hope for women who read the book, for men maybe who read the book? What do you hope for them when they read this that they learn for themselves?
Well, hoping for the men to understand too that woman is, you know, they're strong too.
Yeah.
You know, that woman is capable with a lot of things.
Right.
You know, and as a husband or a boyfriend, it'll be nice for brother or father
Mm-hmm.
to be able to encourage the woman in their life that they can be, you know, what God created them to be.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so to be strong. You know,
And we are.
Yeah.
We can give birth. We can do anything.
Yeah. And you can, you know, encourage people and help people. You know.
Yeah.
That's what I encourage men to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's improved our relationship, Frank and I's, in terms of the money formula, and it's changed our perspective on each other and the types of conversations that we have around money. And, you know, they're not always perfect. You know, we don't always see eye to eye, but it's not about perfection. It's about taking a chance, and it's about trying. It's about making an effort,
Right.
and at least beginning a conversation.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of avoiding a conversation.
Mhm.
And the money formula doesn't mean you'll instantly be a millionaire per se.
Right.
It just
Yeah.
means that you begin to tap into what's important to you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
What were some of the things that some of the people said at the tour? Because I asked the audience, what are some of the common things that you worry about or you've heard about money? What were some of those things you remember?
Well, you know, what I remember is one lady, she was talking about spending money. She feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
You know, when she spend money, she thinks like, I can understand how she feel too, because sometimes I feel like, you know, when I spending money, I better be careful spending my money, because maybe one day rainy day comes again, you know. But there's some days that when I have finances, I spend money, you know, because I was thinking, why not? You know, I'm constantly thinking about, oh, if I spend all my money,
Mm-hmm.
and then I won't have any more. When you have more, you can able to some way somehow treat yourself once in a while,
Yeah.
you know. So
Well, that was one of the things that somebody said was, there's not enough money.
yeah,
Not enough money for everybody, and there's not enough money, period. And you only have this much money, and that's all the money that you'll ever have.
right,
I think Frank has some of that from the past.
right,
Is that there's only this much money, and you have this much, and this is the only money you're going to have, and you have to spend this much, rather than believing that there's a flow of money coming in a cycle, right?
right,
So we do feel fearful that money's just going to stop or dry up.
right.
But that's never been the case.
No,
Money's never just stopped.
no, because God owned the whole thing,
Exactly.
you know. But I guess it's just because of sometimes people didn't want to treat themselves right,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they just want to, you know, overspend
Right.
you got to be balanced.
Right. Well, it's about having purpose for your money.
Right.
You got to know what you're getting yourself into financially. If you're just spending it to satiate
right.
feelings of anger
Yeah.
or guilt or whatever that might be. I know for
Right.
me, I would spend a lot of money if I was angry because I'd be so careful.
Right.
I'd be like, okay, my husband wants me to be careful, so I'd be very careful, and then he would just be disrespectful of me, and then I'd get angry, and as revenge, I would just spend like $500.
Oh, well.
And then he wouldn't say anything. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But I would get really mad, and as revenge, I would spend a lot of money
Yeah.
on all the things that I wanted for myself that I kept for myself.
Right.
And so those are like the types of behaviors that we want to look at, and those are the types of things that women were talking about today. And we want to continue with the Women's Financial Freedom Tour to have this conversation. And inside of the Women's Financial Freedom Tour, we talk about our own stories. I talk about stories from the book. And as people begin to get their copies of the book and read them, we can go over the steps, we can talk about them, and make it even more educational experience.
Right.
And to work on real issues that you're facing. The whole point of the Financial Freedom Tour was really to get this book out and to give a tool for women to begin to shift their relationship with money and their relationship with everyone and their relationship with their creator, their God, their universe, and to really begin to tap into this infinite feeling of abundance. And that's very rare because a majority of Americans worry about money at least some of the time and some all of the time. So we really want to shift that into a feeling of fear, into a feeling of faith.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you know where everything comes from, you know, and sometimes you have to be appreciative of what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Taking stock.
Yeah, you can spend and then you can save.
Well, sometimes when people compulsively shop, and I had some friends that were like that, they would have closets of stuff,
Right.
like so much stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
don't you realize like you already bought this thing, and then they just didn't take stock of what they have? So it's like using what you have,
Right.
and using your resources in a productive way, and that's what we're talking about. We're not here to tell you how to spend your money. We're here to
Right.
tell you to be mindful of where it's going,
Right.
and how you feel about your spending habits, your financial habits, and decisions. So.
Right.
Well, we're going to wrap up the show because we've been full of it. It went by fast, didn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you were kind of
Yes, it is.
scared because you were
Yes.
like, what are you going to ask me?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fun, huh?
Yeah, right.
You come back again another time?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yes.
We'll talk about some other stuff?
Yes.
Maybe we'll talk about domestic violence.
Right.
We can talk
Yeah.
about those things. Help women
Right.
or men get out of violent relationships.
Right.
So there's other
That's
things that
right.
we can do. I want to say thank you, Marissa, for joining us. It's weird to call
You're
her by her
welcome.
name. I always call her Mama.
Right. Well, thank you for being here.
Oh.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that you are now open to share your story.
Right.
Because I think that you have such a powerful one.
Yes. I didn't think at first, but I didn't realize that it would help impact other people.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that, you know, I'll be able to tell people my story. And so,
Our story.
our story. I'm sorry. Our story.
Your story,
So-
my story, our
Yeah,
story.
our story. So,
Her story.
yeah, history.
Her
Yeah,
story. Instead of
yeah.
history, not instead of history,
Yes.
her story.
Right.
Her story.
So I thank God for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us joining us for this episode of The State of Happiness. This is my mom, Marissa Jones, but you can call her Mama if you want, just like me and my brothers. If you have any questions for her, you can send them to us. You can state them on Twitter or Instagram or even Facebook. And if you are a part of the Money Formula Book Readers Club on Facebook, you can have a conversation with us there. I'll put my mom on there so she can answer your questions as well. And we just want to have this conversation with you about the money formula, but most importantly, financial freedom, emotional wellness, and the sense of personal freedom and happiness. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend. Give us a rating on iTunes and Google Play Music. And let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your questions. So thanks for joining us. And remember, a smile goes a long way.